Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a Screenwriter's Rant on Shoplifters of the World, a movie inspired by the Smiths. Begins in Denver in 1987 when the Smiths break up. And this is devastating news to our main characters whose names I don't know because they didn't tell me their names. I wish they had. Seems very kind of impersonal, but you can see they're big Smiths fans because they have a Meat is Murder license plate. And some offhand comment by one of the girls to some guy, this guy, what does she say? Something like, somebody should do something, like what? Surprise me. And he decides to take a radio station hostage and force them to play the Smiths all night long, or however long he holds the radio station hostage. This is almost a little subgenre of its own, this kind of movie, right? There was that one with Steve Buscemi, Adam Sandler, and what's his face? The guy from The Mummy. They play a band and they take a radio station hostage to get their record out or whatever. And there's been a couple like that. And radio station related movies. This was like an 80s thing. It was a very 80s concept in terms of the movie and in terms of what they're doing. I was never really a big Smiths fan. I always felt the movie music was too depressing. But these characters are fanatics about it, and when he takes over the radio station, it really speaks to them, and it's like once in a generation, and the band inspires, and they go out and dance, and things happen, and I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. I mean, I'm from this era. Maybe it's because I didn't like the band. Always felt they were very pretentious. Although looking back on it, I have a respect for the craft because they were who they were, and the leader of the Smiths, he's kind of an interesting cat. But they show the whole movie. I mean, they show literally the ending of this movie in the trailer. She is the sort of inspiration for the hostage taking that the guy's doing, and you can see it's very 80s because all the flyers. It's a record store. And so she says something like, I'd like to thank the handsome young, or the charming gentleman who took the radio station hostage or something. So like it's all good that he did that. And at the end, she thanks him, and then the cops come to take him away, but he's an inspiration. He's not an idiot with a gun who nearly killed a DJ. He's an inspiration. So this is billed as some sort of light comedy, but I don't find it particularly funny. It is very 80s in its sort of presentation. But I don't know. It's not the 80s anymore, man. It just feels lame and derivative. And then this joke at the end is, he says something, the other guy says something like, the Smiths are the most important band in the world, and he says something you obviously haven't listened to Twisted Sister. So, it's a typical, that would be a typical Smiths fan, I think, joke, because it's very sort of snobbish and, funny, but not that funny. Kind of more amusing funny. Let's see who's in this thing. I can't read any of the names on this. Let me expand here. Boop. Okay, there we go. You see who the heck wrote this movie? Nope, I cannot read it. Don't see a screenplay. You got music, director of photography. Where's the screenwriter? Man, I cannot read it. Oh, there it is. Story by Lorraine Hall, written and directed by Stephen Kajak. And this has been a pattern in Hollywood for a while, right? It's like now it's 2021 and we're still getting movies about kids in the 80s being made by people who were kids in the 80s or romanticized the 80s. They weren't even that old, possibly. And they're making movies and calling the shots, and that's why these things get greenlit, because it's not that they connect with the audience's nostalgia, although it does to some extent. It connects with the executive who greenlit it, his nostalgia. Oh, I love the Smiths. Yeah, let's make this movie. So I guess if you're a huge fan of the Smiths, I mean, I could tell you the 3 acts because they show them to you. The first act is, a bunch of friends, and they find out the Smiths have broken up. Oh God! And they talk about the Smiths endlessly, and they talk about 80s things, and then, she makes that flip comment, and he takes it seriously. Then Act 2, he gets a gun, goes to the radio station, takes it over, while the other guys are off doing their thing, getting ready for a party, to party. That's what we did in the 80s. We partied. And then they don't like the music on the radio station, but then suddenly he takes it over, and now it's the Smiths, so everything's cool. And then it's cutting back and forth between how it's changing the kids' world. It's opening up a whole new world for them. Just this one thing that they played on the radio station all the time if you listen to a college station. And so while that's happening, it's cutting back and forth to the guy, talking to the DJ, and they're having a story arc, and the cops eventually get there, and they're delayed until the end of the movie, of course, and various characters have their moment, and somebody hooks up here or hooks up there. I think there's a gay couple in it. And then finally at the end, he comes to terms with what he's done, and the DJ thinks, well, you're not such a bad guy, and then convinces them to give himself up to the cops, and then, all the kids come out and applaud him. They're like, yeah, he did something. Yeah, he inspired us. Yeah. And then probably get an 80s montage at the end, like what happened to all the characters, maybe. I don't know. So, would I watch it? I've seen too many of these movies. It would be 90 minutes of my life I'm not going to get back. I want to see something new. I want to see something bold and interesting. Not something that's just the same thing. Although I will say at least I could escape the virus for 90 minutes, so that's something. Shoplifters of the World. Is there a date on this movie? Is it coming anytime soon? Sometime this year. I'm gonna assume. Oh wait, here it is. In theaters and on demand, digital, March 26th. So if you'd like to relive the 80s through the eyes of probably somebody who didn't live during that time, really, this could be the movie for you.